On May 8th, 2002, there was a gruesome discovery in a blueberry patch. A burned body was discovered inside a steel footlocker trunk, which had been placed in a wooded area in Ottawa County, Michigan. Also inside that trunk were the charred remains of a wooden baseball bat. Outside of the metal box, located in some ashes, were a fiberglass handle hammer and a ratchet wrench. The victim could not be identified and became a John Doe known as Jack in the Box. 13 years later, investigators finally received a tip from a woman in Texas. Deneen Ducharme contacted police in April of 2015 saying she believed the Jack in the Box was actually her stepfather, Robert Caraballo. Robert was married to Deneen's mother, Beverly, and living in Michigan in 2002 when Robert disappeared. Investigators were able to positively identify Robert's remains and determine a cause and manner of death, homicide, as a result of numerous blows to the head with a hammer. The investigation continued for 3 years, and finally, murder charges were filed against Beverly McCallum. She was arrested 2 years later in Italy, and tonight we will take you through the murder, the mystery, the arrest, and then take a closer look at the rest of Beverly McCallum's life. How many other husbands? How many other disappearances and suspicious deaths? As we investigate the life of Beverly McCallum, accused killer.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. New case on Court TV. And let me tell you, this is a very complicated case. And we've had complicated cases before here. I remember the first time we covered Lori Vallow Daybell. And it seemed the more we learned, the less we knew, because there was so much more to the story. And I think that's exactly the case here with Barbara McCallum. You are talking about someone's life, which is also very complicated. Someone who has seemingly traveled around and gotten into lots of relationships, people disappearing. It's strange. It's strange, but it seems like there is a lot more to the story. There's a lot more to her life. And the question is, as we watch this trial on Court TV, is this just the beginning? This murder trial, which in and of itself is not simple, but it's the tip of the iceberg, and it's perhaps will start to unravel everything else that has gone on in her life and in her circle with all these people, men that she has come into contact with through the years. We're going to dig into it tonight. And what I really want to find out is who is this woman? Who is she inside this courtroom? What has she done? Why does she appear different? Like this picture we're looking at, looks nothing like her. It's almost as if she's led this mysterious life that now finally there is a bright light shining on it. And it starts with this trial. And it starts with Robert Caraballo, who was her husband, who in 2002 disappeared. Now the case obviously is on Court TV, so you will see and hear all the evidence day in and day out, trying to piece it together. But what we're going to try to do tonight is understand the journey on how this went from Jack in the Box to this murder trial, and then what could potentially happen afterwards with everything else that we're learning about this defendant, about this woman. So let's start with that trunk. Detective Robert Donker testifying today and shedding some light on the discovery which became the beginning of this investigation.
You see the victim's head with the mouth open, and caught my attention. You could see some dental work, like some type of a bridge had fallen down and was inside of his mouth.
Was there anything else around the head that you observed at that time from this angle or this picture?
You can't see it in this picture much, but close to this angle and maybe from a few inches looking sideways, you could see that there was some rope around his neck also.
So immediately you're seeing dental work, and that has been adjusted somehow. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
You're also seeing a rope around the victim's neck.
In his neck area, yes.
In his neck area. His body is burned up.
Extensively.
What are you feeling at that time how this person may have died?
Not really sure at that point. Again, I'd investigated fires before, and I had some homicides I investigated. I'd never had an actual burned body. So several different things going through our heads at that point. And we're also thinking about the very rural location and why it would be there specifically. We obviously knew the burning had occurred there, but where the actual killing happened, or if he was actually dead prior to the fire, we couldn't ascertain that at that point. And that is a different angle, but the ash has been cleared away and the small ruler's been placed next to it for size reference.
And that hammer, that's how it was located and found on May 8th, 2002.
Correct, because we had no identification of the deceased at that point. Again, you said earlier, Dr. Cole was able to confirm for us that the subject was a male. That's about all we were able to tell at that point with the extensive burning away of the skin. We had no skin tissue left on the hands to be able to get any kinds of fingerprints for identification. Our biggest hope of being able to confirm identity would be through the dental records and having the jaw of the deceased.
Is it fair to say that after that dentist and before 2005, not a lot is taking place in regards to this case?
Might have an infrequent call from someone that thought they might have some information or knew somebody, but again, it would be infrequent. Nothing that we were able to find that was at all related.
Now, because you were holding on to this case so long, did there come a point in time that your department actually named this case?
That actually occurred the first night at the scene.
From the first night. What did you as the detectives call this case that you were working on?
It was referred to as the Jack in the Box case.
This becomes a true crime mystery. It's obvious there's foul play. You've got potential murder weapon, a hammer there. You've got the body burnt, the evidence destroyed, covering it up. But where are you in this investigation? You can't identify the victim. You've got dental records, but to use dental records, you need to compare them to someone, somewhere, and none of that information was available. This became a mystery, the Jack in the Box mystery. And then there was a documentary. A professor and some students took a look at this case and put together a documentary. Take a look. It's called Jack in the Box.
I was almost in denial, you might say. I thought, I really didn't see what I thought I saw. And I had to just collect my thoughts a little, and I just drove around the farm. And it was there. I knew it was there, and I knew it was going to be there. It was bad. It was burned beyond recognition. I got out of the vehicle, and just to make sure that I didn't make a real complete fool of myself. Yeah, I'd forgotten my cell phone, so I went to see a neighbor that I saw working out in the field and used his cell phone. And also took him back here. So I called 911.
Call the 1-811.
Yes, I'd like to report a body.
What do you mean a body?
A dead person.
Okay, where at?
Okay, Grand Haven Township.
Uh-huh.
Let's see, 152nd and Winnan.
Okay.
About 100 yards to the east of 152nd on Winnan.
East of 152nd on Winnan?
Yep, and I'll be there with a pickup, sitting, waiting for someone to...
Was it in the woods or?
It's in my field, and it's burned. And it wasn't there yesterday.
Can you tell if it's a male or female or?
It's pretty badly burned.
And joining me now in Grand Haven, Michigan, former communications professor, author, and the filmmaker behind the Jack in the Box documentary, David Schock, is with us. David, I'm so glad you're able to join us tonight. Thank you for being here. Wow. So let me start here. How was it that you first became aware of this case and took an interest in it and took a look at it and said, well, wait a minute, someone's got to do something about this. Someone's got to make a documentary about this mystery.
I was aware of the case from the newspapers, and my first thought was, thank goodness I don't have to make a film about this case. And that lasted until the sheriff called and said, David, would you help us with this? And the answer was yes, of course.
So explain early on, what is it that's known, unknown, theories that investigators were working under early on in this case?
Early on, the sheriff said, if we can identify this victim, we can solve this crime. And so the goal was to identify who this might have been. Now, the theories were wide, that it was a migrant worker, that there had been some kind of disagreement, or there had been a fight. Or the police, the sheriff's department reached out and worked diligently to see if there were any way possible to identify this person, but it came to naught. Still, they had this unique bridge work that was not from the U.S. necessarily, and they reached out with that. And then after 2 years, the sheriff came to me and said, hey, how about this?
Wow. So as you're making this film and you're talking to people, did you have something in your mind about, hey, I'm kind of getting an idea. I have my own theories on what may have happened here?
I entertained a lot of theories, but I knew that my job was not necessarily to theorize. My job was to try and tell the story in such a way that, while I was trying to certainly entertain a wide audience, I was really trying to reach one person, the one person who could help the sheriff's department prosecute this case. So all this work was to reach one person.
I want to take a listen to some more of the testimony from today. Detective Robert Donker here talking about the tip that they received. Let's watch.
She made further reference to the Jack in the Box case, and that they believe made it sound as though they had viewed part of the video at least, and believed that this could in fact be Robert Caraballo, Juan Cintron, and that Beverly, who she had referenced before, would possibly be the suspect in this matter. Part of what she was telling me was when she was looking at the video, she was doing so with her cousin Tanya. She provided me information about her. She talked about the information in the video showing Jack in the Box subject with him being small stature, with the extensive dental work. The fact that Robert had disappeared in Michigan around that same time frame that was referenced in the Jack in the Box video. She said that she had asked her mom about Robert's disappearance. Mom had reacted very coldly to her. She was scared of her mom. She said that the events that led up to her calling, that mom was acting in the same manner that she had back around 2002 when Robert first disappeared.
All right, David Schock, the murder takes place in 2002, the discovery of the body. That tip comes in 2015. Tell me your reaction when you learned that news about this tip and that one person coming forward.
You must understand that this work requires patience. And so I know how to wait. And the idea was that I let the film sit on the website and do its work. I was sure that something would come from that. And so in 2015, when Bob Donker said, David, do you mind if I stop by for a minute? I was certainly excited. And then when he revealed that they had leads that were solid, and leads that might help them, I was absolutely delighted. The prosecution, Bob Donker, as you've seen and heard, is an impressive detective. He's intelligent, he's absolutely determined, he's dogged, and he's modest, but he's going to get the job done, if he can.
And were you surprised when you learned where this tip came from?
It was all new to me. Surprised? No, because I had nothing to gauge it against. My goal had been that someplace out there, somebody knew what had happened to this victim, Jack in the Box. We did not know his name. We had no idea. But we knew that somebody knew. Somebody always knows.
Absolutely. We talk about that every day here on Court TV in the true crime community that is so vibrant right now around the nation and around the world. All right, David Schock is going to stay with us. We're going to talk more about this case and the trial and the evidence and everything that's happening in that courtroom, plus coming up next hour.
In Los Angeles, California, and Miami, Florida, federal agents raid the homes of billionaire hip-hop mogul Sean P. Diddy Combs. What are they looking for? What will they find as investigators execute warrants in a sex trafficking investigation? We have the latest.
Monday, Department of Homeland Security agents raided Diddy's Los Angeles and Miami homes.
A Michigan mother accused of killing her husband and then fleeing the country.
The defendant was extradited from Italy.
His charred remains found in a box in a blueberry patch.
The defendant could be punished with life without parole.
2 people have been convicted in this case.
Was Beverly McCallum running away from a criminal past?
Now it's up to a jury to decide.
The Fugitive Wife Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
The trunk that the victim was found in was supposedly one of a matching set of 2 trunks that the defendant supposedly was in possession of a smaller trunk that matched that trunk, which she, I believe she kept pictures in it, is what we were told, and that it was The last Deneen had known it was in the defendant's living room underneath a TV.
Unbelievable. This was a true crime mystery, a cold case. The victim in that trunk couldn't be identified, but then finally, 13 years after the fact, a tip. And then everything starts to unravel. Welcome back. What a case on Court TV. And I'm telling you, I said it off the top, this is a complicated case with lots of layers, relationships with people, and a defendant who the more you learn about, the more you go, are you kidding me? So let's take you inside the courtroom, kind of bring you up to speed on this trial, and then we'll bring back in our guests. Let's take a look.
Robert came in his home at 334 Horatio and began to go to his basement. As he started down the stairs, he was pushed. At the bottom of the stairs, people waited for him with a bat and a hammer. A bat was swung. A hammer hit him so hard that it stuck in his head. To finish him off, a bag was placed over his head and a rope around his neck. Robert died in the basement that day. Those same people then placed him in a trunk, carried him up the basement and put him in a van, drove him away to a 2-track road, took him up that road and lit him on fire. Chris is going to tell you that about a week before Robert's died, he actually was with Deneen when Deneen advised him that, hey, look, we need to get rid of Robert. Chris is going to tell you that he watched Robert die.
Today, as Miss Beverly sits here, she is an innocent woman. The starting point for our position is at 0, and it will remain at 0 until you feel firmly convinced that the prosecutor has moved that gauge. Watch for certain red flags concerning the accuracy of these witnesses' statements regarding over 20 years. You have to remember that all these people are testifying to an event that happened over 2 decades ago.
Deneen and Beverly wanted to get rid of him because he was abusing the kids and Beverly physically, mentally, sexually. Deneen told me that Beverly wanted to knock him unconscious and suffocate him.
While you're having this conversation with Deneen, does anyone else walk in?
Beverly does.
Does she tell you when she comes in?
She was irate. She wanted to get rid of him. Talked about suffocating him. The basement door opens. Down comes Robert, and Beverly was behind him. They come down a few steps. Beverly kicked Robert down the stairs. I swung the bat. I hit the post. I broke the bat. He was kind of at his knees. And Beverly starts to tell Deneen, give me the hammer, give me the hammer. Deneen takes the hammer and with her right hand wants to hit him a couple times. Beverly jerks the hammer away and with her left hand on the left side of the head, hits him like 3 or 4 more times until the hammer was in his head. Beverly was sitting up on top of him to keep him from moving. And he laid like that until the bag quit moving in and out and he quit breathing.
As she was going up the stairs, my dad began to pull her by her ankles to pull her back down, and that she grabbed the nearest thing she could with her right hand, which happened to be a crowbar, is what she said, and she swung it like that, the back of her head, to try to like get away from him, and that her words, he started bleeding.
Why didn't you tell anybody?
My mother, she was the only parent I had, the only family, the only consistent family. I've always just wanted family.
Still with me, former communications professor and the filmmaker behind the Jack in the Box film documentary, David Schock. David, watching this trial and hearing this testimony, this girl, Cicely, the daughter, has told stories for years about what happened to her dad. And it ended up that, I mean, he was in the box. He was the man in the box the whole time. What are your thoughts as you've learned more about the family dynamics here?
Well, imagine that they take Roberto's body in this footlocker, put it in the van, and then load 2 young girls right in front. One, his biological daughter, another one, a stepdaughter. Everybody's in the van. And to contemplate that they took these innocents on this ride to hell is almost beggaring in terms of what I can understand. Of course, the whole thing is beyond any rational understanding.
Absolutely. Now, there's allegations going on there. And getting to the point that the person who gives the tip ends up as a co-defendant in all of this, which is kind of unusual. Haven't seen that too often, right? The person who is helping to solve this cold case mystery ends up on the other side being charged.
The dynamics are convoluted. Deneen, as my understanding, at some point absolutely acceded to her role in part of this. But then she, and my understanding, and you'll have to confirm this elsewhere, is that she was offered a second-degree charge for cooperation, and she did not cooperate, rolled the dice on a first-degree murder, and now is serving a life sentence. And it's particularly interesting because of the dynamics with Beverly, that our prosecution had to stop at second degree, or else the Italian forces would not let her be extradited. So there are wheels within wheels too. You think about, is it equal justice for mother and daughter? And in one sense it's not. But the first thing that would have to happen would be that Deneen would have to allocute that, yes, I did this. And then perhaps there would be, I don't know, appeal, commutation, perhaps a better shot at a charge that was not first-degree murder. I don't think Deneen was the prime mover. I think Beverly was.
Yeah, and that acceptance, right? Taking responsibility for what you did. Courts always look at that as the strongest of all mitigating factors. Like okay, I did it. Here's what I did. I'll be truthful about it, and I'll accept responsibility for what I did. The man who testified with the glasses, McMillan, interesting testimony, the way it's described, what happened, and his involvement in all of this is another part of the case that is a little unusual. It seems like it was a family issue and a family discussion, yet he is there to help for whatever reason.
Well, he was there because it was a convenient place, and he could smoke some dope, and he and Deneen were friends, and he and Beverly were friends. I do not think he believed that they were going to go through with this attack, and when they did, I think he was so shocked that he realized that if he swung that bat, he would be far more culpable. And I think, I know from his earlier testimony, I have not been in court this week as a result of some neck surgery, but I was there when he allocated to his part as the first defendant, and when he gave himself up. I think that he was afraid of Beverly to start with, and then I think this worked on him, and it is my hope and belief that he grew a conscience A lot of things happen over 20 years. I mean, people get religion, other people die, people grow afraid, or they grow less afraid. And I think Chris McMillan realized that what he had done was going to put him in a lifetime and beyond this lifetime of hell.
We've got another guest joining us by phone in Lansing, Michigan. The attorney representing Deneen Descharme, Amanda Love, is with us. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about Deneen. She is the one who makes the call, and she's the one who ends up convicted behind bars. Without that call, without that email, without that tip from Deneen, where are we today?
I'm not sure I can answer that. I think that they'll be unidentified.
So what are your thoughts about the case? Is the truth coming out in the courtroom? Do you believe the truth is coming out in the courtroom?
I do not. This case has so many angles, and I'm glad that I get to watch it from home because I've been screaming at the TV quite a lot.
What are you screaming about?
The leading questions and the amount of facts that are not accurate. Like the clip you even just showed was Detective Maltby, and he said that it was a trunk set of two. Nope, it was 3 trunks. They were all green. They fit inside of each other. It was a set. And so that might not be a huge fact, but it's all over the place that none of these facts are the same as the previous case.
So your client, Deneen Descharme, what, from her perspective and from your perspective, what happened that day? What happened to Robert Caraballo that day?
Well, I think that the fact pattern that describes the hammer, the bag, the trunk, the fire, all of that obviously happened. They're inside of the trunk. But as far as who was involved, there has been so many versions of the story, especially from Chris McMillan, that I'm not sure anybody has heard the truth yet. I know the version of the story that Deneen has told me, and that is extremely consistent with all of the things that I have seen come out at trial. And Chris McMillan has told the story so many times, and I found it very odd when I was watching the footage that they kept saying, oh, well, you told the police or you talked to the detectives 3 times, and that story was pretty much what you said today. And I don't really know that pretty much, or is that a fair rendition should be the standard for a murder, especially a premeditated murder. So it's not adding up to beyond a reasonable doubt for me, that's for sure.
Okay, stay where you are, Amanda. I know we tried to connect with you. We had some technical difficulties. We've got you on the phone now. That's great. David Schock is going to stay with us. When we come back, let's talk about Beverly McCallum. How many husbands? Where are they? What happened? Who is this woman? That's next.
My mother told me and my sister, Tasha, that my dad had taken off to Canada to go back to his old life without us. I, at the time, could connect that Canada was within driving distance and his vehicle was still in the driveway. So I thought that was strange.
And she was right, because he had been murdered and burnt and left in the woods in a trunk. Now, let's take a look at Beverly McCallum, because as I said, it's a complicated story here, but she's a very complicated woman with a complicated life. You ready? Here we go. And this we've put together based on allegations involving Beverly McCallum in her life. Marries Paul Descharme. They have a daughter named Deneen. Beverly leaves Paul Descharme and takes Deneen with her. Paul Descharme later dies of natural causes. Beverly marries Lenny Byam, The family moves to Texas. Lenny Byam later dies of natural causes. Beverly marries Roberto Caraballo. They have a daughter named Cicely. May 7th, 2002, Roberto allegedly murdered in Eaton County, Michigan. May 8th, 2002, burned body is discovered inside a steel footlocker trunk in Ottawa County, Michigan. Beverly says she's left Roberto Caraballo, Beverly, and Cicely and moved to Jamaica. Deneen stays in Michigan. Beverly then marries Beverly McCallum, and they have a son named Guatano. 2007, Beverly leaves Jamaica with Guatano and Cicely and moves back to Texas. Beverly McCallum is allegedly considered a missing person in Jamaica. Where's he? Beverly and the children go to Texas and move in with Beverly's mother, Mary. Beverly meets a Pakistani teacher online. Mary's health declines and she dies. April 2015, Deneen Descharmes emails the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office saying the unidentified body from the Jack in the Box case was her stepfather, Robert, and her mother was the killer. October 2015, detective from the Eaton County Sheriff's Office traveled to Houston, Texas, and conduct interviews with Descharmes and other possible witnesses. Beverly then marries Zishan Muzam. June 28, Beverly flees from the United States, goes with her husband to Pakistan. And then in November 2018, arrest warrants for Beverly are issued for murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and abuse of a corpse. February 13, 2020, Italian authorities advised that McCallum had been provisionally arrested in Rome, Italy, pending extradition. And then in November of 2022, her son, Guantano, passes away. A lot of death and disappearances, a lot of husbands. What's going on? Amanda Love and David Schock still with us? We lost Amanda. Okay, David Schock, let me ask you. Your thoughts about this life of Beverly McCallum. Is there a lot more to this story after this murder trial?
It's my understanding there is. But my understanding is limited. The people you're going to need to speak to will be another prosecutorial team. So this may not be the last charge she faces. And in fact, it's crossed my mind that she might face a first-degree charge at another point. But that's beyond my knowing.
As you learned all of this and some of this background about Beverly, did it give you a different perspective on what happened to Robert Caraballo?
A more complete perspective, certainly understanding what happened. The question always is, why? Why this? Why do this to Roberto, this wonderful father who loved his daughter? Why? And I don't know, but I suspect the reason may well be money.
It's a very common motive in these spousal cases. Sometimes it's jealousy, sometimes it's money, and sometimes people are just off. But she's going from man to man to man and kind of bouncing around the country, bouncing around the world. You've got, do we know where her latest husband is? Have you heard anything about that?
No, I have not. I have not.
Well, let me do this, David, because we do have...
he's alive.
Yeah.
If he is, I think he's very fortunate.
We do have Amanda Love rejoining us by phone. Amanda, give us some perspective here. I tried to go through some of Beverly's life here. What are your thoughts about who this woman is?
I'm pretty sure she's a serial killer. 100%. She has a distinct pattern. She gets with a man. She leaves them, or has a baby, leaves them. The man mysteriously comes up missing, or she tells the children, oh, he left us, and then mysteriously gets remarried. So I'm not really sure how she remarries when she's currently married elsewhere.
Any idea where her latest husband is? The man she met online from Pakistan?
Yep, he is, I believe he's still in Italy because they went there together. But he still communicates with her all the time. They send letters to each other at the jail. I know that he was trying to get over here to come to the trial, but he apparently can't get a visa.
So it seems he still loves her and is supporting her?
That is correct.
And what happened to her son?
That is a mystery as well. She got brought over here in July of 2022. Yep. And in October of 2023, his body was found. And I'm not sure that we have specifics. I know that there was a few rumors, but the last thing that I heard was that he had some medical condition with a hole in his heart, and that Bev knew about it, but never went and got it corrected, and that he died of some type of heart condition. But
do you think, Amanda, that there'll be more potential cases down the road? Is this just the beginning of finding out about Beverly McCallum, or do you think this will be the end?
Well, the other men are also in other countries, so I think this might be the end for us. She fled the country after killing Roberto and took everyone except for Deneen down to Jamaica, not because Deneen didn't want to, because Deneen said, "I don't want to be near you," and refused to go. And the man that she ended up marrying down there, his name was Riney, and she actually had known him for like over 20 years. All the kids called him Uncle Riney. And then mysteriously, they get a frantic call in Texas saying, "Hey, something happened. You need to get us back over the border." And nobody has heard from Riney since. He's still actively a missing person in Jamaica.
Wow. And the trial continues, folks. A big thank you to Amanda Love. Thank you for joining us. We'll continue to talk about this, obviously. And David Schock, Jack in the Box is the film. Great to see you as well.